Hello and welcome to Midnight Mindset. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're curled up in bed, lying on the couch, or letting your thoughts drift in the quiet of night, this is your space to pause, to breathe, to just be tonight. We're going to gently explore the everyday, the ordinary, the things we all do without thinking, twice scrolling too long, working too hard, sleeping too much. But what if those normal behaviors are actually your mind's way of asking for help? So settle in, get comfortable, and as the world outside slows down, we'll begin to listen to the signals within. Because sometimes mental illness doesn't shout, it whispers. You're always busy, always hustling. People say, wow, how? Do you do it all? And you smile? Because if you stop smiling, you might break. This is how high-functioning anxiety hides. In plain sight, under productivity, behind ambition, you show up early, you overprepare, you never say no. But it's not confidence that drives you, it's fear. Fear of being seen as lazy. Fear of failure. Fear that if you stop, you'll fall apart. If I do more, I'll be enough. If I control everything, nothing bad will happen. Psychologist Dr. Ellen Hendrickson describes this as a hidden condition, where someone looks successful on the outside but suffers internally with racing thoughts, catastrophic worry, self-doubt. High-functioning anxiety rewards you. Promotions, praise, approval. But inside, you're exhausted, and it never feels safe to stop. This isn't just being driven. It's being chased by your own thoughts. The sleeper who never feels rested, or feel proud of being a perfectionist, or laugh about how you're always tired even after 10 hours of sleep? What if those seemingly harmless quirks are actually red flags? What if your good habits are your brain's desperate cries for help, disguised as normal? This isn't about obvious breakdowns or extreme behaviors. This is about the subtle signs, the ones we laugh off, ignore, or even get complimented. For a while, our mental health quietly unravels in the background. Because here's the truth. Mental illness doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. And today, we're turning the volume all the way up. The overachiever who's secretly drowning. Ever meet someone who always says yes, takes on extra work, never misses a deadline, and seems to be 5 steps ahead of everyone? Else, maybe it's you. High achievers often get praise. She's so driven. He's a machine. But sometimes that relentless drive is hiding something darker, high-functioning anxiety. On the outside, composed. On the inside, spiraling. I'm not enough. If I stop, I'll fail. If I fail, I'm nothing. Sound familiar? According to psychologist Dr. Ellen Hendrickson, people with high-functioning anxiety often appear successful but suffer from racing thoughts, chronic overthinking, and an intense fear of failure every single day. They don't rest. They can't. It's not ambition, it's self-punishment. So next time you admire someone's grind, ask, are they achieving? Or are they escaping? The chronic sleeper asterisk, you sleep 9 hours. You're still exhausted. You nap in the afternoon, but wake up foggy, not refreshed. People joke, you must love your bed. But what if sleep isn't a hobby? What if it's a symptom? Psychologists call it hypersomnia, and it's a common sign of atypical depression. Unlike typical depression, where people struggle with insomnia, atypical depression causes overwhelming fatigue, even when you've slept enough. You're not lazy. Your brain is trying to shut down, because being awake hurts. When I'm asleep, I don't feel anything. And that feels better than the emptiness. This isn't just being tired. It's emotional escape through unconsciousness. According to the Journal of Affective Disorders, hypersomnia affects over 40% of people, with depression, especially those aged 18 to 29, and it often goes undiagnosed because, well, everyone sleeps, right? But sleep that feels like sedation isn't sleep, surrender. The constant scroller. You open Instagram just for a sec. It's 2 hours later, you're in a TikTok rabbit hole. Your coffee is cold, and you feel oddly worse. Still, you keep scrolling. It's easy to write off as procrastination. But compulsive scrolling, especially doom scrolling, The self-soothing behavior often linked to anxiety disorders, trauma responses, or even emotional numbness. I'm not looking for entertainment. I'm trying not to feel anything. Dr. Anna Lembeck, addiction psychiatrist at Stanford, explains in her book Dopamine Nation that the brain becomes addicted not to pleasure, but to distraction from pain. Social media becomes the emotional pacifier for people who can't face their own thoughts. Each swipe, each scroll, each refresh, it's not boredom, it's avoidance. And when we're constantly chasing stimulation, what are we running from? Empath, who absorbs everything. You're the therapist friend, the fixer. You feel what others feel deeply, painfully. You pride yourself on being emotionally available. But what happens when you take in everyone else's emotions while suppressing your own? This behavior, often praised as empathy, can actually be a sign of emotional dysregulation. It's common in conditions like borderline personality disorder or complex PTSD. You're not just supportive. You're absorbing. You cry when your friend's upset. You feel anger that isn't yours. You get emotionally flooded by stories on the news. And then you feel empty. I don't know who I am, apart from everyone else's feelings. According to trauma expert Dr. Gabor Mate, people with childhood trauma often become hyper-attuned to others' emotions as a survival mechanism. They had to sense danger early. Now they can't turn it off. So if you feel like a sponge that never dries, it might not be emotional intelligence. It might be emotional overload. The comedian who's always fine you make everyone laugh. You're sarcastic, witty, charming. No one ever asks if you're okay, because you seem like you always are. This is often a mask worn by people with high masking depression, especially men and neurodivergent individuals. If I joke first, no one will see how much I'm actually hurting. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, Chester Bennington. All were described as magnetic, funny, warm. All were quietly battling mental illness behind a smile. Asterisk, this isn't about faking happiness. It's about using humor as armor. And here's the twist. The more someone performs joy, the more likely they are to be disconnected from it. A study in the British Journal of Psychiatry found that people who use self-deprecating humor frequently score higher in depressive symptoms because they're often externalizing internal pain. So when someone is always the life of the party, be asked how they're doing when the music stops. The perfectionist who can't let go. You rewrite texts 5 times. You organize your desktop obsessively. You can't start a project unless everything is just right. Sounds like discipline, but sometimes it's obsession. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, OCPD, is often confused with OCD. But while OCD is anxiety-driven, OCPD is identity-driven. You don't want things perfect. You need them perfect. Because if they're not, you feel worthless. If I can control everything, nothing bad will happen. Dr. Stephen Phillipson, a clinical psychologist specializing in OCD spectrum disorders, explains that OCPD is one of the most misunderstood conditions because sufferers often look like ideal employees or students, but the price of perfection is exhaustion, and the reward is it's never enough. So next time you say I'm just particular, ask yourself, is this about excellence or survival? The lone wolf who prefers isolation. You say you love being alone. You cancel plans and feel relieved. People drain you, so you build a life where you don't need anyone. Sounds like introversion, right? Asterisk, but sometimes it's not. Extreme isolation can be a symptom of avoidant personality disorder, social anxiety, or depressive withdrawal. I'm not choosing solitude. I'm choosing safety. The difference? Autonomy versus protection. Introverts recharge alone, but still enjoy connection. People experiencing depressive withdrawal avoid connection because they fear judgment, rejection, or emotional exposure. In a study published in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology, researchers found that chronic social withdrawal was one of the most reliable predictors of long-term depressive episodes in young adults. Loneliness doesn't always feel sad. Sometimes it feels like numb comfort. But make no mistake, it's still loneliness. So what do we do with this information? Panic. Diagnose ourselves via TikTok? No, we pause. We ask, are these just habits? Or is my brain trying to send a message? Because the scariest thing about mental illness isn't the breakdowns, it's the slow erosion. It's the moments that feel normal but aren't. Apathy, fatigue, control, avoidance, laughter, overwork. They can all wear masks. And if your brain is putting on a show every day, maybe it's time you gave it a mic hand. Let it speak the truth. Talk to someone, friend, a therapist, a hotline, anyone. Asterisk, and remember, mental illness doesn't always look like suffering. Sometimes it looks like survival. Subscribe for more deep dives into the brain's hidden corners. Share this with someone who seems fine. Comment below. What's a habit you thought was normal but wasn't?